All right, I decided I'm going to videotape this right now while I'm driving, and I think that the impeachment process has finally shown itself to be, I guess, a naked gambit, like a bad bluff. And I would have recorded this earlier today on the road, but I was getting my muffler changed, so it would have been much, much louder. So hopefully the audio comes out, if not crystal clear, then at least fairly audible. So we'll see what happens. Watching yesterday, so many of those people walk up to the lectern and give their, their bullshit statement about, how I need him to be impeached now, right? It was so ridiculous then seeing Nancy Pelosi do that press conference, where she said, well, we might not deliver the articles of impeachment to the Senate immediately unless we get assurances that we're going to get a fair process, right? Well, maybe you should have thought of that. Maybe you should have negotiated that before you approved articles of impeachment. That's a little bit of a major detail, wouldn't you say, Nancy? So basically what I'm telling you is that I think the Democrats have made a bad mistake, potentially much, much worse, with how Nancy Pelosi handled yesterday. The people who have been believing in impeachment have made it seem like it's so urgent to get Donald Trump removed from office, or to, I guess, indict him for his perceived crimes, that the notion that this could just not even proceed into the Senate now makes it seem even more ridiculous. That's what's really funny here, that it's become a pure political move that most people, I think, would agree is not really something that is going to, I guess, solve what the impeachment supporters are asking for. Remember, Adam Schiff and the other Democrats on the committee, on the Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, I believe Jerry Nadler said something similar. They've said that the reason they're not going to let this issue be decided in the election, and instead they're going to move forward with the impeachment inquiry and then the actual impeachment, the reason for that is because they don't want Donald Trump to be able to steal another election, to cheat in the election, I think was the language that they used. And now just the emptiness of the impeachment process is pretty obvious, because look, yes, they passed the articles of impeachment, right? Now the people who are running for president, they are going to be handcuffed by it, and I'll explain why. It's very simple. The people who are running include a few senators at the moment. There's Sanders, there's Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren is a senator. There's there's plenty. I think Cory Booker is still in it. So the only two candidates who are capable of speaking on the issue without, I guess, showing that they're prejudging their verdict when they go for the Senate trial, the only two people that can do that are Joe Biden, who has a problem, an optics problem related to this actual issue, and Julian Castro, who's not going to be on the debate stage because he's not polling well enough. So it's basically a huge it's a huge joke right now. I forgot, Andrew Yang, who is not in the Senate or elected to government, has already, so he is going to be on the debate stage. And you know what? He said that impeachment doesn't help. He said that it's a bad idea. So the Democrats have a massive, massive optics problem. And what about the other presidential candidate? The one that maybe you're asking, well, why aren't you talking about Tulsi Gabbard voting present? That is also, I don't think it's the best move by Tulsi Gabbard strategically. I think it effectively ends any hope of her being able to run for president, realistically run for the nomination. I think she's completely cooked her goose. but it does hurt the impeachment process because she was the only candidate out of the ones that are left in the race who could have voted for impeachment, and she voted present. So the people who have had a stake in the game already have shown that they don't have confidence in the impeachment process to the degree that they would vote to impeach Donald Trump. That's a really, really sad commentary for the Democratic Party. If you're a Democratic supporter, what does it say that the only Democratic presidential candidate that had a legitimate role to play so far in the impeachment process has basically thrown cold water on it? And the ones that are left, you have Elizabeth Warren, huge mistake, supporting impeachment months and months ago, saying, impeachment is a great idea. It's not a great idea. It's clearly not a great idea at the moment, but for her specifically, it raises a question. She's running for president. She's already said that she supports impeaching Donald Trump and removing him from office. And that effectively shows that as one of the people who, at the Senate trial, will be voting on his guilt or innocence, she's already a prejudicial juror, if you want to use that terminology. It's just not looking good for the majority of people who are observing, who are not committed to Donald Trump getting removed from office. I'm not trying to say that everyone in America thinks that this is a joke. Obviously, there were impeachment rallies. I showed you one a couple of days ago here. I don't think I don't think there was tremendous support behind it, but there were plenty of people for a cold evening by the West Side Market, which, by the way, I just passed by it. However, the truth is, you have to look at these people and wonder, who are they convincing? They're demonstrating in cities, most of the time. They're demonstrating in cities that are so deeply blue as to make it, it's like, how useful is it to demonstrate for impeachment there? You're basically preaching to the choir. The Senate, the representatives that are here in Northeast Ohio, we have Marcia Fudge, we have Marcy Kaptur, a couple other people. They're all committed Democrats. They were committed to impeachment already. You didn't swing anyone. And the truth is that the swing district people who voted for impeachment are going to have to answer questions from now on about why they supported something that's essentially just, it's a joke now. There's no path forward until Nancy Pelosi hands over the articles to Mitch McConnell and says, hey, have at it. And then at that point, if Mitch McConnell suddenly wheels around and says, F you, we're going to dismiss this case without prejudice, because McConnell had a statement on the floor of the Senate today where he said that the House is trying to have the Senate do its shoddy, redo its shoddy work that it wouldn't complete by itself. Once she hands it over to the Senate, it's already dead. Now that she won't hand it over to the Senate, it just looks like she is playing politics with it. She is possibly one of the most incompetent leaders in the history of Congress. And furthermore, there's more I could say on this, obviously, but when I also have to take one of these exits. But when you're looking at what's going on with Nancy Pelosi and these other things that are on the House legislative agenda, she's supposed to approve today, pass through the House, the USMCA bill. The USMCA bill, which would be the crowning achievement of the Trump presidency, it effectively invalidates the premise that Mr. Trump should be removed from office, because he was elected on this platform of renegotiating trade with Mexico and Canada. That was a huge element, right? Huge element. The wall. They just approved, this is something people don't know. They just approved a budget that does give some money to the wall. So what's going on right now is that the Democrats are basically trying to kick this guy out, but they're still approving a number of his policies because those are policies that they agree are good for the economy here, right? The USMCA is good for the economy. In the case of the wall, they've rolled over enough by conceding that you would give funding for even a few miles of wall. You're effectively admitting that the idea itself is not worth having a moral crisis over. So yeah, I think the Democrats are really showing themselves to be transparently, political. They're not really looking to help the country, I guess, heal from what they're calling this existential crisis. They're making the crisis worse. They're creating the crisis, if anything. I personally, as biased as I am, I still can't see how it is that Donald Trump created this crisis, or that Donald Trump is to blame for it. He was elected. He's abided by the laws of the Constitution so far as I've seen, right? In many cases, the courts have overturned things that he's wanted, and it's not as if he ordered his, his minions to go and do it anyway. He did everything through the courts, through the federal court system. That's abiding by the Constitution. So yeah, that's my analysis. Besides that, I do think, like I said, Tulsi Gabbard, the choice of voting present effectively ends her candidacy for the presidency. Yes, there's going to be some people who say, oh, this was a courageous move by Tulsi Gabbard. I don't think it's a courageous move. I think it was her, and I don't think it's an awful move, but I'm trying to say that Tulsi Gabbard knows she's not going to be elected president. She's not going to be nominated as a Democrat, and her campaign is essentially it has four flat tires now. There's no way forward. The polling agencies that are approved by the DNC are not really helping her to get into the debates, right? And maybe she's not that popular in some of these polls. I mean, the truth is, Tulsi Gabbard has a niche popularity among certain people who are anti-interventionist, anti-war, anti-establishment, which is it's a valid viewpoint. It's a viewpoint I hold myself to as well. On many issues, I do agree with Tulsi Gabbard as opposed to any other Democrat, but it's not the majority of the Democratic voters or the people who show up to primaries, and it's not the majority of people who answer these polls. So look, her candidacy, I think, is over. This vote cements that. It shows that she doesn't care anymore. I think it might even just be a middle finger to the people who have hindered her candidacy up until now. So that's about it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also subscribe to me on BitChute, Minds, and Subscribestar if you want to donate. All of those are at Chef Leopard, and on Gab at Starscream85.